What's up, YouTubers and plant lovers? It's Justin, and today I wanted to show you what happened to my Bromeliad. Now, unfortunately, I've had a lot of free time here in the past couple weeks, so I decided to clean out my plant room. And this Bromeliad I had was actually a rescue. He lost his flower, and he has a bunch of fungus, white fungus on him, and his pot there you can see. So he's in dire need of help for a transplant and some TLC right there. So I wanted to show you how I was going to go ahead and take care of this and see if I could actually get rid of everything and give it a healthy new start. Alright, so now typically what I want to do is go ahead and take a copper spray and apply it to the plant. And it will kill any of the fungal tissue on there, but if it's entered into the cell of the host plant, the copper spray won't work at all. It's mainly a preventative measure to keep the fungus away, but if it's on something inanimate, it will kill the fungus, but if it's in the host plant, it won't do nothing at all for it. So I want to show you what I'm going to do because I believe that some of it is down in there in the plant, so we will go from there. Now, as I was saying, I'm using a copper spray. Just any kind of copper spray will suffice, but you don't need to know the name. Just as long as you do have a copper spray, you will be okay. Now, take your time and try and get on top of every leaf, down every crook and crevice, and take care to actually get underneath the leaves also. And for the time being, we're going to spray the dead leaves too. I'm going to remove them, but just in case, I'm going to go ahead and spray them as well too. Now, a bromeliad is similar to an orchid in the sense that when the leaves and flowers die back, a lot of people tend to just throw them out. You don't have to. They will bloom again. So I wanted to make sure I could rescue this plant and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And also make sure you kind of spray over the soil just to get anything else that's kind of lingering. And I'm going to spray the pot as well. But I did buy a new pot, and I will probably throw this one out also. Alright, so now I can see that a lot of blue residue is coming down. That is the copper spray actually working and killing the fungus. So it's draining off kind of that blue, kind of greenish color that we imagine copper would be. Alright, now I've got my new pot. It's a little plastic pot. You always want to make sure you wash this pot out with hot soap and water to kill any kind of bacteria or any disease that might be in your pot. They tend to stay in shipping for a long time, in back warehouses for even longer, and then on the shelves for God knows how long. So many people are going to go by picking these pots up and looking at them and touching them. So make sure you always clean yours out as well. And just to be even more careful, I'm going to spray this pot out to make sure no fungus will be in or around this new pot. Alright, now after we got the plant out, we want to go ahead and observe the roots to make sure that you don't see any kind of root rot or anything that looks discolored or kind of has a smell to it. Typically anything that will indicate that your plant has root rot. So for the most part, you can remove most of the substrate with your fingers. Be very gentle. And as you can tell, this plant doesn't really have an extensive root mass, so it shouldn't take that long. And for the most part, everything looks pretty good. Now, if you've sprayed your plant, you probably won't be able to tell if it has an odor to it or anything. But you can kind of get down in there and kind of smell a little bit and observe, look it over, make sure you don't see anything that's discolored or mushy. And like I said, just use your fingers and be gentle. Alright, now what I'm going to do next is go ahead and wash off the rest of the sediment that I'm not able to get off by hand. I'm going to use the water, so it may get a little loud for a second, but I'm just going to wash all this down the drain. got most everything else off of there, I'm going to go ahead and trim back the roots and continue to check everything out and make sure I don't see anything that might signal to me that the plant does have some rot or any more of an infestation. And I think we are pretty good. So take your sanitized pruning shears and get to work. And then trim off any of the dead or dying leaves that are rather unsightly. Take your time. Make sure you don't cut into any of the live tissue. But if you do, it's no big deal. Just use some cinnamon to coat over the cut. Cinnamon, as we know, is a natural antibiotic and will keep anything from catching a disease or rot, and really just kind of help the plant out. Alright, now as a general rule of thumb, you can remove about 3/4 of a plant's root mass without hurting it. So you can trim rather vigorously, but don't get too carried away with it. Alright, now I'm ready for the bleach and water. Alright, now the next step is very important. You gotta be very careful while doing this. I'm gonna make up a mixture of a little bit over 1 gallon of water, pretty lukewarm water, to a 1/2 cap of bleach. Now, as I said, be careful. You don't want to over pour, but you can go for a 1/2 cap to a full cap of bleach, depending on how severe the case is. But remember, bleach is very strong, so I wouldn't go a full cap. And you want the water to be pretty warm. You don't want it to be scalding hot. And then we will take the plant and we will go ahead and sit him in there for about 3 to 5 minutes, starting now. Now, I've gone ahead and submerged the entire plant because there was fungus down in the leaves. Kind of splashed it around a little bit to make sure that it will get down in there in the crooks and crevices, and that it'll get down in the roots too. Now, for the most part, I'm just letting the plant float there in the water, but every 30 seconds or so, I'll go ahead and push it down in there to make sure that the entire plant is submerged and that the bleach water will get down in there. Kind of mix the water up a little bit with your hand. Alright, and then at the 4-minute mark, go ahead and pull your plant out, look it over, make sure that anything that you may have seen down in there is gone. And the next thing we need to do is rinse the plant off. Again, we want to use lukewarm water. You don't want to freeze your plant, you don't want to burn it. I made sure to sanitize my pruning shears again. I'm going to dip them in bleach just to be careful and sure of that. Don't want to spread any more fungus, and I'm going to remove that inner flower down in the middle there. Alright, get it as low and close down there as you can. And as I did that, it looked like there was a little bit of white down in there. So I'm going to dip the flower back down in the bleach again for just another couple seconds, probably about 25 or so. Okay. And then I'll rinse him off for the final time, hopefully. And just to be sure. Now, as a further cautionary measure, I went ahead and bleached the pot after I even washed it out to make sure that no more fungus got anywhere around there. Dry it out as best you can. As wet as this plant is now, it doesn't need any more water or any more ways to invite rot or fungus in. Alright, now, I got my soil here, all brand new. The cacti succulent substrate. It is good for quick draining. If you want to, You can mix in some pumice or perlite, or even some builder sand or horticultural grade sand. Alright, now get it to about where you want it and create a little divot down in there for your plant to sit. Hold it with one hand and then add a little substrate in with your other. Don't worry about making a mess because you probably will. And as you add the substrate in, make sure you pack it down some. You want to get rid of any air bubbles that may be trapped in the soil that will hurt your roots. After you get it in there, the substrate will hold the plant up for you. And then we'll just concentrate on keeping it as straight as we can get it. Mine never turn out straight, big shocker. And now before you add too much in, make sure you gently direct it with your hands. Now he looks like he's getting another flower spike, but I think it might just be more leaves coming in. As I said, I got him when he was at the end of his flowering stage, and I think it was an orange flower. My buddy said it was pretty cool, but I know he was wanting to throw it out because it was done flowering. Alright. Now, I know a couple of you are probably wondering where the cat is. Salem is pretty scared of the bathroom, so I don't think he'll be making an appearance in this video. He'll hear the running water and take off in the complete other direction. But we'll see, he's practicing his social distancing for all intents and purposes. Alright, now typically at this point I would go ahead and give it some water to make sure I got rid of any other air bubbles that were down in the soil. But I've washed this guy pretty extensively and I don't want to add any more water to him. So I'm going to give it a couple days, maybe 3 or 4 days before I give him any water. I made sure I tapped the soil down really well to get rid of most of the air bubbles as I could. Like I said, I'll check in a couple days time, give him some water, and see how he's doing. And then I will also do an update video on this plant to let you guys know how it's turned out and everything. But while you're at it, go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know how your bromeliads are doing, or even just how you all are doing in this crazy time right now. I know this couple of weeks have been a little hectic, but we will get through it. Just make sure you stay smart and stay safe. And then while you're at it, also hit the subscribe button or the bell next to it. That way you'll know anytime I've uploaded a new video. You guys take it easy, have a good one, and don't forget, always plant prudently. Thank you, YouTube.